First of all, can we talk about how we claim out as black as hell on Twitter and now all the trolls are mad? Like Oakland Slam ain't always
Been
been that.
live. We've been
Hey,
live.
hey, I don't care if they heard that. Y'all can stay mad that we're black if you're mad about it. If you love that we're black, I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah.
Um, but welcome to Founders Speaks. Um, Today's episode, we are going to be talking about Black joy in honor of Juneteenth. We originally planned this episode to come out on Juneteenth and for us to do it yesterday, but we were too busy being black and joyful to talk about being black and joyful. Um,
Yes.
so we decided to live in that experience and enjoy that experience and then talk about the necessity of it and the necessity for Black joy in general later. Um, because it's not just important to talk about Black joy, it's important to be black and joyful, at least every once in a while. But today we have, of course, Collin joining us, as well as Chardonay and Prophet.
Gang.
Gang, gang.
Um, so do we want to start off by talking about how glorious yesterday was?
Yes, yesterday was amazing. We had a Juneteenth celebration with all of our friends. Prophet and Reggie.
All of our
and
black friends.
all of our black friends. All of our
All of our
black
friends are important, but yesterday was for my niggas.
It was for my niggas, and my niggas.
Oh
No,
my.
my niggas and my
And
my
my
niggas,
niggas,
that could
niggas.
say nigga.
Yes,
That part.
that's the important thing. So Prophet was there, Reggie, of course, Chardonnay, Ashia Johnny, who's been on our show before. And we barbecued. I don't know if y'all can see the barbecue pit in the back, but we had so much food. People actually bring vegetables, which is important, and they weren't in a can, which is important too.
You don't know where I got the greens from.
Food Max has a fruit sale. It is lit. Berries are under $2.
Yeah. But we were just kicking it, drinking, smoking, and laughing and smiling and talking shit and doing what niggas do when we're not fighting for our lives. It was absolutely great. It was needed.
No, and I think that was so important. I've been so busy fighting for my life that I have not been experiencing my life lately.
That part. And I
Like,
think that speaks to all of our experiences.
right. And I think that's why Juneteenth is such a necessary. I love how publicized Juneteenth has become.
For the first time ever.
For Black people, the way that we are talking about it as Black people. If you're not Black, you don't get to have an opinion on Juneteenth, because you didn't have a hand in Juneteenth. For those of y'all who don't know, Juneteenth is a celebration honoring when the last slaves in Texas found out that they were free. That's nothing for non-Black people to celebrate. That's something for non-Black people to hold themselves accountable to. Why didn't they know? That was on y'all. We were too busy trying to figure out what we were going to do with our newfound freedom. We didn't know that our other brothers and sisters didn't know that they were free. So we celebrate, us finally getting the word out to everybody. This is a time for non-Black people to sit back and reflect in their complicity and their complicity and an active role in institutionalized racism. But this is a time for Black people to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
This is a time for us to really remind ourselves, that we're not just fighting for Black life, we're fighting for Black living.
Wow, wow.
So and yesterday was a perfect reminder of that. Just being in a room full of Black people, and it was in a room full of celebration, because way too often when I'm in a room full of Black people, it is in a room like full of anger. It's in a room full of grief. It's in a room where we're dissecting Blackness or dissecting white supremacy. And like, that was just yesterday was like one of the few days where I get to be Black around Black people and just be, and not have to transform that into some kind of protest. Like, no, we get to I just drank and smoked and kicked it with my niggas.
Yes.
That's so important. Like,
I would just want to point out one of the best things about yesterday was realizing like how much things are culturally like necessary for Black happiness. For example, as I was barbecuing, I started to get the barbecue sauce ready, and like I just casually mentioned, I could put Hennessy in this sauce, and then a bottle of Hennessy was bought. It was necessary. It was absolutely necessary, and you couldn't mention Hennessy around any of these niggas without everybody being like, "It's necessary." So I feel like, what are some other things y'all feel like are culturally necessary at a function for Black folks to be enjoying themselves?
like there needs to, like, everybody got to play their fucking role. Like, that's a thing you need. And like, not in a like a bad, but like if you have a cookout full of all grill uncles, nothing's going to get done. It's not going to be fun.
There's going to be no vegetables.
Right. You have the people that are bringing vegetables. You got the people that are in the kitchen cooking. You got the people that are outside cooking. You got the people that are smoking. You got the people doing store runs. You got the people, you know, it's a Black cookout is
A symphony.
It's a village. It's everybody doing their role to make sure that the village, or in this case, the cookout, runs smoothly and is enjoyable and is fun. And like, it's different from like other collaborative spaces. Like here, like you're laughing and like you're singing and you're joking around. Like there's something about a cookout that gets niggas to cooperate painlessly.
Oh man, we should have the next rally at the cookout, to be honest. That's
No.
when they sit down and listen.
No, because too many white people come to the rally. For us.
Too many white people come to the
have the
cookout.
rally at the cookout.
But how many white people you gonna let in your house? Exactly.
Well, how many people am I going to let in my house, first of all? Let alone white people. Like, I think there have been exactly, I think I brought exactly three people in my house, all of them Black. I'm only letting 3 Black people in my house. I mean, today's not about y'all.
A large portion of our stream dropped when we mentioned the white people, and it's like, cool, not about y'all.
It's not about us,
but to my niggas.
Like there's a point in almost every stream where white people or reparations are mentioned, and we lose anywhere from like 3 to 7 viewers, and it's like
you're told on
if
yourself.
you wasn't down, what was you here for? Like, thank you for seeing yourself out.
I like to believe that some of those people drop the stream in order to go donate,
and some of them do,
and some of them do, and shout out to them. Shout out to, speaking of donors, shout out to all of our patrons. We've been doing a campaign to get 30 patrons in order to make all of our events free to performers. We're currently sitting at 26. And like, this has only been like a month-long campaign, less than a month. So like, really, like, we'd like to shout out our community for like stepping up and supporting us, so we can better support y'all. You know, really thank you. Like, I didn't think that it would be, that we would get as much support as we have. As quickly as we have. You know, I thought it was going to be like a slow donation stream. Y'all said bet. Call to action, bet. So definitely keep that support coming in. You can visit us at patreon.com/richoakevents. So our to join us in making poetry, spoken word, and art more accessible. Shout out to Nakia, our new $30 workshop patron. Thank you for helping us pay educators to engage with our community in artistic forms. So yeah, thank you to all of y'all. And thank you to our future patrons that I know will sign up to support this movement. But back to the conversation. I don't think it would be bad. It would be bad for us to talk about Black joy without talking about the reason that is necessary. Like, I'm just gonna pull up some statistics about Black mental health. And then we'll just look at those. Black. But does anyone have anything to say?
I feel like part of the reason Black joy is a necessary thing to focus on is because Black pain, Black trauma, Black death, especially, and worse, is always like broadcasted. It's put out there as, who. There are weeks that I just don't get on Facebook because I'm not trying to even risk seeing, you know, somebody's knee on a Black person's body, or a Black woman getting shot in her home, or, let's talk about the cookout and the party and the joy and peace and community there is when it's just you and your niggas who can say nigga.
Right. I think one of the things that like we really have to think about in terms of like mental health is that Black people make up 13% of the United States population. 16% of Black populations report having a mental illness. That is just what we report. But we all know with mental illness in general, it goes underreported and underdiagnosed. And we know specifically with stigma in the Black community that is even exacerbated further. That means we have identified but that means that we have only identified out of all the Black people who have mental health issues, we've identified 7 million people, which, doesn't sound like a lot in context to the United States population until you realize that is more than the entire populations of Chicago, Houston, and Philadelphia combined. Like it is still a lot of people. And then you exacerbate that with the fact that in real time, we can watch Black people be murdered, where we can watch Black women tweet about being assaulted and then go missing, where we can watch where 120 people were killed by police in the span of 2 weeks in this country after the protests break out. And that is because of Black activism. That is a direct retaliation to Black activism and Black liberation is we're going to kill more of you. And the response to us asking, not even asking, demanding to be respected is, well, we're going to kill all of you and we're going to broadcast it on live television and half of the country is going to goad us on. Damn right, I'm gonna look for something to make me happy. And it's important that we do that. We have to center ourselves in some sort of joy and peace for our mental health. It can mentally break you. And if you're mentally broken, you can't be a part of the movement. You can't, if you are too depressed to get out of bed because you keep seeing Black people dying, you can't go and march. If you are if you don't have access to mental health resources and you're having a breakdown, you can't go out and march. If you get 5150, you can't go out and march. it's like even the way the mental health system is designed around Black people in particular, the mental health system in general is mirrors a prison. But like specifically when you have the prison industrial complex and then you have the mental health system, both essentially imprisoning Black people, whether in a mental institution or in a cage, it's important to take care of our mental health. It's important because the system that is designed to help us is not designed to help us at all. You know, it says so much that we have so much funding for involuntary holds, so much more funding for involuntary holds than we do for preventative research, for preventative outreach, for putting mental health that is accessible and affordable in Black communities. So I don't have to get someone calling 911 on me because I'm standing on top of my car and dancing and screaming at random people because I have completely been broken by the American system. I've been like, I think the real insanity of this country is thinking that you can put Black people through all of this and expect us to be okay with no coping mechanisms. Like, that is why Black comedy is so damn funny. It has to be funny. It has to be funny, because it isn't funny, we're gonna start crying. Think about the things that Black comics talk about. Like, even like you think about Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Charlie Murphy. They were talking about the crack epidemic, yo. It had to be funny. It had to be funny. Because if we, like, there's a saying in the Black community, if we don't start laughing, we're going to start crying. Or if we don't start laughing, we're going to start rioting. Like, this is, like, Black joy is an important tool in the movement to keep us like, you know, everybody says that, like, I personally think we should burn it all down. But everybody says that that is too radical of a prospect, but then wants to demonize or make no space for Black joy. Like, I was on Twitter yesterday and people were talking shit about Beyonce's Juneteenth song. They were like, it wasn't political enough, wasn't talking about the movement, it wasn't about liberation. I'm like, yo, honestly, fuck liberation if I can't be happy in it. What's the point of being free if bondage killed my joy? I can't even be happy that I'm free. We need, like, not everybody's role is to say, liberate us. Some people's role is to say, you know, liberate your mind, liberate your heart, and find something that makes you happy. Not like, oh, be positive, the fake positivity shit, but like, find some joy in your life. As a Black person, that's activism. Finding joy in your life. Like,
what are ways that Black people can find joy in their life?
Get a hobby and unapologetically fuck with that hobby. If you like anime, unapologetically fuck with anime. If you like knitting, unapologetically fuck with knitting. Like, have your entire house full of knitted items. You know, have a closet full of fucking knitting needles and yarn. Like, do that shit. Focus.
Oh, go ahead.
And and have a hobby that you are not trying to commodify and sell. Like, for me, writing is not a hobby for me. It is not something that I do it's something that I like doing, but it's not something that I do for joy, because it's something that I do for money. I draw for joy. I can't draw worth a damn, but I doodle all the time. Like, I don't present it. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. Because this is what I am doing for my own joy. This is not performative. This is not involved in capitalism. This is not trying to raise me up out of my oppression. This is trying to put me in a good mood. You can play video games.
Yeah.
You can listen to music.
You can dance. You can work in the yard.
You can hula hoop. Uh, Grown people should go get a hula hoop and try to learn how to hula hoop again, because I know everybody knew how to do it when we were as a kid, and then you grow up, you don't know how to hula hoop no more. It is fun. It is freeing. It is liberating.
I'm
Find that
glad.
thing that brings out your the shit you like to do as a kid for fun before somebody else told you you shouldn't do it because
Yeah.
you was black or
Do
because you was this or that.
do
And I
about
mean,
everything you wanted to do as a kid except for eat dirt and sniff glue.
sniff glue if you
And
want
my
to.
answer
I'm
kind of piggybacks off of
shit.
y'all's.
Mm-hmm.
So my answer, which piggybacks off of y'all's, is to find community and or communion. Like the the church is not as popular or as deep among our generation as it was in previous generations. Um, so that intergenerational exchange of information doesn't happen as often. A lot of the times, us millennials are more comfortable being inside before the whole Rona thing took off. So yeah, like find a community of like-minded people uh, who have similar interests and build a tribe of folks, that you can confide in, build a tribe of folks where, like you can be heard, feel seen, and have that. Because by being able to connect with others, we can pick each other up. If you don't know someone very well and they're kind of acting manic, you don't know them well enough to say like, hey, like I think you should take a deep breath, sit down, drink some water or whatnot. You just think, oh, that guy is just kind of quirky, or that gal is just kind of quirky. But by having like-minded folks who understand your passions, understand your traumas, your aspirations, these are essential. A lot of niggas can't afford therapy, so we find therapy in the people that we fuck with.
I mean, yeah, I really fuck with that. But I want to like really touch on something that Shar said, which was like, do the shit that you like enjoyed when you were a kid. And that's so important because so many of our childhoods were ripped away from us by trauma, by institutional or just racism, by having, just like even by our own goals and ambitions, like I know I sacrificed a lot of like my young phase, even though I have one and still doing it. But a lot of the stuff like that I'm watching 23-year-olds do and like it's a normal 23-year-old thing, I don't do because like I kind of lost that part of me trying to like get ahead because I'm black, and if I'm not ahead, I'm behind. So like, I'm thinking like, yo, like so there's times where I have to remind myself I'm 23 and it's okay to drink that Hennessy at 11 a.m. on my day off. I'm not 35. I can drink like that. My liver will be fine.
I felt like as a black femme, a lot of responsibility was pushed on me at a young age. Like I low-key raised my brothers, or not my brother, my sister and my cousins. And it was really it really just put a lot of pressure on me from a young age, so that to this day, I really struggle with just having fun or having any kind of downtime. Like I have to stop and remind myself, like it is okay to take a break.
Yourself.
Yes, I do remind myself, or Collin reminds me.
Most
like,
of the time, it's the
sometimes I need to, just take a break. It's okay to play a game or to do something for fun.
Yeah, it's like so important. It's so important to just sit down and be like, yeah, like I can just sit here and like be here and not do anything. Like so many times, like, our parents were like, if you're not doing anything, you're doing something, you know, like that you're too quiet to, like, you're being too quiet to not be getting into something. So like, we actually like, I like, there's times where I feel like, oh, if I'm not doing anything right now, I'm doing something wrong. Because that was so reinforced in me as like a kid, like, you know, like if I was too quiet, somebody would be like, oh, like, what are you doing in your room? Like the no closed doors type thing, you know, like just different things. Like I found myself like not like, just like different things that like I grew up with that like I realized aren't a thing. Like the whole like being extremely careful about how you like close doors and like cabinets and stuff. I don't give a fuck about that anymore. It's just like, I knew I didn't mean to slam the motherfucker. Why am I like, I'm still like, I'll close like, you know how when the wind blows the door, blows the door as you're closing it and it just slams?
Yeah.
Like up until recently, I would just yell, shit, I'm sorry. I was, because no slamming doors in this goddamn house.
Right.
And then now that I'm an adult, I'm like that robbed me of like a carefreeness that kids are supposed to have. As a kid, I shouldn't be worrying about how hard I slammed your adult ass doors. You pay, like, I'm a kid, I shouldn't have to give a fuck about doors, to be honest. I'm an adult, it's like, this isn't even my damn house. Like, I'm not on the mortgage. Why do I give a fuck about like how hard I'm slamming, like how hard I'm closing the door when I'm doing it normal? Why is there such anxiety behind that? And it's just like almost like, you know, part of Black joy is just like, sometimes it's okay to just not give a fuck, you know, like, and that's translated into the movement where it's like, there's been so demonizing of like, if you're not doing anything, like you're wrong. And I'm just like, yeah, but we're talking to white people. We weren't talking about us. Why are we responsible for always having to fight for our own lives? Can a nigga live and then fight for my life and then live and then fight for my life? Like, you know, a pattern. Like, why am I constantly in a fight for my life? And why am I expected to constantly act like I'm in a fight for my life? Why can't I act like I'm in my life? It's like, yes, going to the protest is important, but also like experiencing the life in which I am trying to protest in advocacy for is more important, to be honest. I would honestly, I think it's more productive to sit with my niggas and chat and have collective healing than it is for me as a Black person to sit in front of the cops at a protest and get my ass whooped and arrested and tear gassed for protesting, Black people getting their ass beat, arrested, killed, and tear gassed by the police. White people can suffer for that cause. We have suffered enough. Now I feel like our cause should be radical Black joy.
On a side note, we don't have any trolls today, and I just think it's because they all took June 20th off in protest of Juneteenth.
No, they're all at the Trump rally.
Is there a Trump rally?
There's a Trump rally that was supposed to be yesterday, but he rescheduled it because of Juneteenth, and now he's claiming he invented Juneteenth.
The sheer caucasity of that man.
Yeah, he's like, nobody knew about Juneteenth until I said it. And
Donald Trump, 50% head, 50% ass.
Leave it up to a white man to wait until you teach them something and then turn around and tell you they told you about it.
You know what the gag is, though? Oh, someone said, be careful, the trolls will find you as soon as you mention Trump. Trump, Trump, Trumpity, Trump, Trump, Trump. Kiss my ass, bro. Not you, Arvind. You're great. I was talking to the trolls because all trolls are bro until further notice.
I feel like it's more like bum than bro, but
bro is not respectful at all. I don't know who ever told anyone bro was respectful, but it's not. Like to anyone.
Yeah, I usually start saying bro about the time I'm about to beat somebody's ass, bro.
Right. I don't know. Like in the black community, it's bruh. Bruh is respectful. Bro is you gonna get your ass beat.
No lies detected.
At least on the West Coast. I don't know what it's like on the East Coast because you know I have the best coast.
Is it the difference between my dude and my guy?
I feel like both my dude and my guy are like, yeah, my dude is pretty cool. I like my guy better. East Coast won on that one. I will not lie on that. Y'all New York niggas with the my guy shit, I fucks with it. But yeah, I think it's really important like that we center our Black activism in Black joy and Black celebration, because it's so easy for us to never forget what we're fighting against. That is always up in our faces. It's so easy to forget who and what we're fighting for.
I do have a comment. I've noticed that growing up, whenever like history would be told about like, you know, like the Black community or like our history in America, anytime pictures are shown, it's always Black folks looking real serious. Like you said, always in a fight for our lives and never able to actually live. Like I don't remember seeing too many stories of Fannie Lou Hamer or seeing too many pictures of like Dr. King or Malcolm X or, you know, Rosa Parks or, you know, all of these civil rights leaders, the Stokely Carmichaels of the world and the Huey Newtons and the Fred Hamptons. Like none of these folks I've seen eating in a cookout, listening to music, dancing and enjoying themselves, only ever fighting the myriad injustices that they and we have experienced. What I did not know until I was older that, you know, having fun, you know, being joyful, being able to find joy in this ugly, crazy world we live in is a radical aspect of the movement. Because for every one of those leaders, we had a Motown, we had a Stax Records that spoke to the truth of what we experienced. And yes, sometimes the music was radical too, but sometimes the music was just to get you to just live in the moment and not worry about the riots and the fire going on outside. So like even from the civil rights era, you know, being able to find joy in this horrible existence of being Black in America is definitely a part of the movement and has always been. It's just never broadcasted. It's never publicized.
Can we just acknowledge that is what you just said? The need for art in the community and the movement. That is the importance of Rich Oak. The way that community comes together in our events and our spaces. It's just really beautiful that it is such a cultivated space for, or specifically prioritizing Black joy.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking about that, like, I don't know, like, I was having like a really tough like couple weeks, just being Black and queer and non-binary in America and having nobody like talk about you while we're in the middle of the largest Black movement in the history of this country. That was like, I'm not included in the largest Black movement in the history of this country. So like that was really fucking with me. And it like really became apparent when Black queer femme activists started dying. And I was like, so we're actively being killed by this movement while fighting for this movement that we're not included in. So like I was like in a really bad place, and I was like, and then Arvind sent this video clip of me and Collin from months back. It was December because I saw what color I had in my hair. So this is a clip from December, and all of that anger, all of that sadness, depression melted away, because it was a moment where I looked at myself and said, I can, and I will continue to find ways to experience joy in this movement. Like, because make no mistake, Rich Oak is part of this movement. It's not just like, it's not just about, you know, who is talking about police brutality. It's about who is providing platforms for people to talk about it, who is supporting spaces that are fighting against it, who is providing art. Because that's one of the clearest ways that we track and document these movements is through art, especially through writings. So I think it's really important. Like Rich Oak has been such an important space for me as a Black person. Like, I didn't even realize that, like, how important it was when we had started it. I didn't realize how important it was going to be for me to be there. Like, not even run it. Like, if I didn't run this motherfucker, I would still say it was really important for me to be at Rich Oak that night, regardless of whether or not I was hosting, regardless of whether or not I was performing, regardless of whether or not I was organizing. Because if that video was not made and sent to me and I didn't see that, I would be in a completely different state of mind, to say the least, right now. And it's not just that, it's the fact that, you know, I can always go back to that video and videos like it. I can always go back to memories and memories like it, because of spaces like Rich Oak, Tattoo Vision, spaces that center Black people and make a specific, not just intention, but action to center Black, queer, trans voices. Like, if those spaces didn't exist, it's safe to say I wouldn't exist right now. And it's safe to say that there are people that would not be here, whether physically in the area, or even like, you know, just, you know, like Black suicide and mental health is not talked about. And like, we don't talk about the ways in which, like, as a community, our treatment of Black queer people, Black women, Black femmes, Black non-men, is, if we are not killing them, we're making them kill themselves.
I remember when I found Rich Oak in September, Reggie was the one who was like, "Are you here for the open mic?" And I knew instantly from like walking through that door, like, yes, I have found a space that I can truly feel at home in. Like, especially because at the time I was living in Concord and my roommates were like, but just finding this space that's like not only full of Black queers and femmes and people all over the spectrum of Blackness that are typically ignored, but it's ran by those people as well. It was like, wow, this is everything that I needed. And even in ways I didn't know I needed it, because I knew I needed a poetry space, but I didn't realize how bad I needed this community.
Right. And I mean, it even boils down to like why we like created Rich Oak. I don't think we created Rich Oak from a conscious idea of radical Black joy, but we created it from an unconscious need for spaces that center radical Black joy. Because the whole reason we started Rich Oak was because we were sitting in the back of a homie's car complaining about how white and like how white or elitist or classist or ableist or whatever other shows like in the Bay were at that time, or the people that ran through them, regardless of like, you know, what organizers were doing. Regardless of what organizers were doing, like there was a real problem, not necessarily with the organizers, but with people that were coming into the space. Like they would come in, fuck up, and then get like never come back again. And then somebody else would come in, fuck up, and never come back again. But it was like a regular thing where people were coming in and fucking up.
I would say there was a very conscious effort to make this show joyful and to make it about highlighting Black joy. We weren't just sitting in the back of the show talking about how like white and elitist this show. We were just like, not only are the white elitists, but these shows are only turned when we're there. Why the fuck we ain't got a show? We keep this shit lit. We keep these shows enjoyable. We're the ones giving the most energy to the poets, and we're in the damn show. Like, we are the best audience members, and we are helping put on the show. Why don't we put on our own show?
Right.
And like make that entire atmosphere of the show, not just whenever 3 niggas show up, the show is turned. The show is turned because 3 niggas run that show.
And everybody else is turned up.
Exactly.
Right. And it's just like, it's like one of those situations where it's like, yes, like, I think I'm just going to be honest, like, especially in slam, we as organizers need to take accountability for the way we have not centered joy in general at our shows.
Yo, it's a game. Slam. We got to remember this shit. Yes, we are talking about very sensitive topics and important issues, but that's what poetry is for. That is what poetry as an art form is for. Slam is a competition. It is a goddamn game. As organizers, we have to remember that we are facilitating not just a conversation, but a game. We need to make sure that our competitors are having fun. First and foremost, I don't give a damn if niggas are talking about the birds or the trees. Niggas need to be having fun.
Right. And I think that's something that we need to talk about is like, if our goal, honestly, is to create a space for people to like talk about trauma and have that space first, then your show should be an open mic and not a slam. If your goal is to have people use this art form, have fun, and talk about those serious issues, that's where a slam comes in. But I think there's too many spaces that are like, even just like in like organizing art spaces, like we haven't like created a show. We've taken over shows. We've taken over organizing other shows from and for other people. And so like a lot of it was, when I looked at it, it was like, it wasn't just the competitors not having fun, but you need to look at yourself as an organizer. Are you having fun organizing this? Because like there were points where like, you know, when I first started organizing shows that were like more like about the seriousness of everything, or organizing slams that were about the seriousness of everything, I realized I wasn't having fun doing that. Like, even looking back at the early days of Oakland Slam, looking back at the early days of running Berkeley Slam, looking back, like Rich Oak is the one exception because it was the only show that wasn't happening. Like we revived alchemy. But for like Oakland and Berkeley Slam, there was a point in time where I was like, everything is so fucking serious about a competition where the points don't even matter at the end of the day, that like organizing this doesn't feel enjoyable. And it doesn't feel enjoyable, like engaging with slam in this way. Like when I'm slamming in a space where it's like, it's about the seriousness of the conversation. And like, I'm just like, then why are there points on it? It's like, it's just like, if it's supposed to be about the seriousness of the topics, and like uplifting, like if it's supposed to be like activism, like it needs to be a showcase or an open mic. A slam is a competition, and therefore there is like, it can't be serious. A slam can't be serious because then you have people connecting their trauma and their life experiences to points. And like, that's insane. But like, you know, when you phrase it, this is a fucking game. Like, none of this is serious. Like I don't, like, even as a host, I don't take myself seriously as a host or the show seriously as a host. So nobody takes the points or anything seriously. That's my thing. Like, if you see that I am drunk off my ass and fucking up, you're not going to take the points seriously because I'm not taking them seriously. But like, I think it's just really important, like, especially when interacting with, like, when you have Black poets in the space, like, as a Black poet, I'm constantly, you know, not just like, there's a social pressure to talk about Black pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a social pressure to re-traumatize yourself. And I think Arvin asked a question, what are your thoughts on the latest generation of poets fighting back against this culture of trauma for points? I have mixed feelings about it because I don't like the way some people are doing it by shitting on slam altogether. I think slam is problematic. I'll agree with you on that. But also I think it's problematic not because of slam itself, but what we have turned slam into. Like we've turned slam into oppression Olympics. That's what we've turned slam into. It was not originally supposed to be oppression Olympics. It was, why don't we make this a competition so like people actually like come to the open mic? What if we put some stakes on this so people like felt willing to like come and like listen? It's legitimately just like, we tried to trick the audience and we ended up tricking ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, so like when I see people say like slam is toxic and slam is bad, and I want to, like, I know exactly where that's coming from. And like your feelings and your experiences are valid, but it's also because of our community's relationship with slam. There is nothing inherently toxic about having people put a numerical value on poetry to get them in a room to pay for artists. There's nothing inherently problematic with that. It is the way in which we've employed that, where we have emphasized points for trauma, where we have emphasized putting people's self-worth, like encouraging people to like see themselves, like not by encouraging people to see their self-worth as connected to the points, but we don't actively discourage that. It's like when somebody's just like, I'm super upset that I didn't get the points, like, you know, coaches are like, oh, well, what could you have done better? And not, fuck the points, your poem's still great. We can have the what can we do to make that poem better or that performance better later in practice. but like right when like now is not the time to like there's a time and a place to like tell somebody to do better. Not when they're feeling bad about themselves. You don't hear someone say, I feel really bad about this. And then you tell them, well, did you try doing better?
I'd like to make a point about that because you make an excellent point there. Um, I just turned 30 a couple months ago. Nah, scratch that. My body turned 30, but since I couldn't really celebrate fully, like I'm 29, 30-ish.
Sound like an Aries.
And basically, when I came up with a lot of folks as a youth poet who were like, building brands and building names for themselves and became like really, really big in the poetry scene. Some of those folks that I was a youth poet with are now like leading adult poets. But a lot of the folks that I did like went to open mics with and did slams with as a youth, they eventually got tired of the drama of slam. They got tired of the infighting. They got tired of it becoming a trauma Olympics. There was no more fun out of it. They got tired of the fact that every poem started to kind of have the same rhythm, the same cadence. Almost every poem was about the same, like 5 subjects maximum. There was no humor. Like the only emotion you'd hear in a 2 to 3 hour slam was anger, 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 aggression, um, anger, sadness, 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 anger, and it just proved to be too much. So a lot of the folks that um, when we were younger, we never thought that, like we'd ever fall out of love with poetry or with slam. Like it's just, there's no joy in it anymore for them. Like even some of the Bay Area legends that came up in the slam scene, they don't come to slams that much anymore because of those reasons. Um, and I really appreciate Rich Oak because it's one of those few spaces where it it makes me that 17-year-old, 16-year-old, like knucklehead, nappy head kid again, to see so many people enjoying themselves and living and not obsessing over what 5 random strangers who probably don't know shit about poetry think about them expressing their truths.
Right.
So
like, first of all, I think there should just be a culture of booing all the scores, regardless of what they are. Like the audience, like if a host says, audience, your job is to boo the judges, that automatically takes away the seriousness of everything. If the host from the get-go says all the scores are going to be bad, because they're scores for poetry, all the scores are going to be bad. We just got you in a room. So joke's on you. But like, yeah, it's like with like Rich Oak, there is a space for the trauma and the pain and the sadness. But the difference is, and I think a lot of other shows need to do a better job about this, is we don't let you spill your blood on stage and then not patch you back up. Like we're not gonna just let you like go like just like just re-traumatize yourself and not like check in and hold you. Like it's not enough to make a space for somebody's pain. You also have to hold them through it.
I was just about to say,
and that's like that's part of joy. Is there is something joyful about being held through my pain.
Hell yeah. We don't break people down because a lot of slam has been just breaking people down or watching as people break down, and retelling their old traumas, and then just letting that hurt, that pain, that trauma go unaddressed, and a space like Rich Oak, you know, we provide, like you said, we provide a space for those emotions, but we also build you back up. We also are there to help you get through it, not just, you know, like just get past that fleeting emotion, but like, you know, like we're family in the Rich Oak community. Like even folks that come for that very first time, like I I have seen folks that like kind of get emotional and performing for the first time or talking about some really heavy stuff, and whether it be other random members of the audience or like another one of the performers or one of the organizers, we, you know, after the show we stay uh hours at a time, you know, just building community with each other and supporting each other and checking in with each other, making sure that we're all good. And you know, that is a slam culture I have not seen since my youth poet days.
Right. I feel like if somebody, as an organizer, if someone cries on your stage and you don't know how they're doing afterwards, you failed as an organizer. You're not an organizer, you're a host. And like, you know, it hurts saying that because like there's like, I don't want to seem like I'm shitting on other shows because I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. I haven't seen that being done, but like that's just that's just an example. But like you can't watch somebody break down and not try to hold space for them. And holding space doesn't mean like being a therapist. Holding space can mean like, let's have a check-in conversation and see if you're good. And then also, you know, like if you cried on stage, you know, like maybe I'll ask you, do you have like a song that really makes you feel better? I can ask the DJ to play it. That's holding space for somebody. I'm not your therapist, so I am not going to talk with you for like an hour about your trauma because you cried on stage. But there are things that I can do to make you feel like I see you.
Come outside and smoke a blunt with us.
Space, you know, come outside and smoke a blunt with us. You know, like it's not sometimes holding people is not getting them through their trauma, but loving them, accepting them, and allowing them in the space and making them feel welcome and like family after seeing all of that. Like, you know, like it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, you know, we're going to make you feel better. It can be, we're going to make you feel loved. You might still feel like shit, but you feel like people love you. It's like, I'm not going to tell you that like what happened when you were a child is like everything's okay. But I am going to tell you, we got you now. We're here today and we got you and we love you and you are welcome, you are worthy, and you are beautiful. Please stay you. That's what I can say. That's what I can do as an organizer. And I don't see that happen a lot. I don't. I'll see like I'll see check-ins, and I think like as organizers, you know, our first reaction is to like be the therapist and be like, hey, what's going on? You know, like, do you need to check in? Do you want to talk about it? I don't think that's necessarily like, that's important. We should do that. But I think we also like, there's another level of aftercare is not just what you do immediately after it happens.
For sure.
Aftercare
I have a question for Char. You said aftercare is how you what?
Aftercare is how you hold somebody continuously.
But my question for Char is, because we've been talking about slam culture, you know, a little bit about the history and the present of it. As someone new on the scene, like what is your perspective on it? Like how do you feel about the culture of poetry slam?
I have a lot of thoughts actually. Because on one hand, so most of my experience with slam is with y'all. And the biggest thing is actually that, like, because so as a poet, a lot of the poems that are written happen to be about trauma, whether or not that's what we want to be broadcasting or like points for trauma or whatever. With or without that, a lot of poetry, especially when we think about the great poets, we think about a lot of really depressing shit. And so to then take that and get on stage and read it for points, that, and then as someone who's not naturally comfortable on a stage, and you know, you get points for performance. It puts you in a really weird place to be in that space and not like have a, if I didn't know, say, Reggie and Reggie was hosting, I would not, or at least have like talked to Reggie, because something that happened for me when approaching Slam was a lot of organizers, or at least like I thought Collin was organizing with Berkeley Slam before Collin was organizing with Berkeley Slam. And so there were people there who were like, yo, we got you, let's smoke this blunt. But like, I feel like that's not common. Like when I've gone to other slams, I don't see that as much with, especially with like people who are there for their first time, even if we're like, yay, first timers, woo, that was a great poem. But then you got really low points and you feel bad about yourself and your trauma in your poem. And there's nobody there to be like, yo, do you want to come outside and chill with us while we bullshit and talk shit? I feel like having that and just as a part of the culture, rather than, you know, this is something that happened because y'all are just really dope people.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking about back to like when I first started Slam. I actually really want to shout out a poet real quick, Asia Bryant Wilkerson.
Yes,
like,
Asia.
That asked the reason that I stayed in Slam, or that like I wasn't as intimidated when I first started coming to the Berkeley Slam. When I first started coming to the Berkeley Slam, Asia was on top, like was winning the Slam while writing the poem on stage, like on some goon shit. And I remember it was like maybe my first or second time, like she was rolling a blunt and I was rolling a blunt, and like she started talking and like talking to me and like just treated me like a person, like not like a competitor, but like a person, and just like, you're niggas who smokes weed, I'm a nigga who smokes weed, we're both here at this poetry slam, let's kick it. Like
Right.
that kind of energy of like, and it was like, you know, like if more people did things like that, interacting like with the new folks, not even as new folks, but like I know like when I go to greet somebody at Rich Oak, I make the intention of greeting them like one, like they meant to be there. Like it was their decision, like they decided to be there and weren't just walking by and wondering what this was. And two, like I know them from somewhere. Like that's my home, like that's my home girl, that's my homeboy, that's my sib, you know? Because part of making someone feel welcome, like part of welcoming somebody in the space is not just telling them that they're welcome, it's how they feel. I think that's something that like Slam has failed to do, is make people feel welcome in it. It's made narratives feel welcome in it, but people it doesn't, because you see people stuck in certain narratives. Like if I want to talk about like about being queer, like that's cool, but it's not as cool as if I talk about being black. That's the narrative I've been pigeonholed in. But I'm not just a black person. I mean, my queerness is black. Yeah, I'm just a black person. but like that's not just what you think blackness is not the entirety of me. And I'm not allowed to talk about the entirety of me on stage, even as like somebody who like runs the show and has influence in the culture. You know, I still have to subscribe to the culture in order to be successful. Successful as an artist, not an organizer. We can subvert the culture all we want as organizers, which like, I don't, a question was asked, do poets brand themselves? I don't think we brand ourselves. I think what we do, especially in slam, because it's for points, is that we look at the way society has branded how we look. We get branded and then we just sit in that brand because that's what's working. As opposed to, I don't know, getting rid of the entire idea of brands. Like, I think the only requirement to get a good score for a poem is that it was well written, it was well performed, and it was your experience. Like, you know, I don't think that like, oh, somebody who wasn't read as queer doing a poem about being queer should be like a shock. It's almost like you don't know who somebody is until they tell you.
Right.
And I think there needs to be more space. And I think there needs to be more space for poems that are, this is who I am and not this is what I've gone through.
Yes. I think one of the ways that my work has evolved in my poetry scene and my poetry is like, it's not that I don't talk about the trauma, but I always think about, what do I enjoy? What's the thing that gives me the most happiness on a consistent day-to-day basis? And that's talking shit. So when you see my work evolve, it goes from trauma, ooh, boo, to head ass real quick. And it goes from me spilling my guts to me having fun on stage. Like, I have a lot of fun performing because it was fun writing it, because I had fun thinking about it. I was doing the two things that I enjoy, writing and talking shit. And I think more people need to incorporate things that they enjoy into poetry, because we always talk about the things that give us grief. What are the things that give you joy? What are the things that...
And you can talk about the things that give you grief in a way that like brings you joy. Like, it was like, I don't, like, you know, like if like final stage for NPS 2018. The Salt Lake Unified team placed fourth at Nationals with a Wizard of Oz concept bout. They were all doing persona pieces of characters from Wizard of Oz, but they were talking about real shit. But I didn't feel like there was space to get people, like there was space to get to know somebody like by their interest based on like how they wrote for that character. Like,
right, like my poems, I don't have a poem about how much I like to talk shit. That would actually be kind of goofy, kind of corny. But incorporating the things that you love into your writing style, like the Wizard of Oz concept about.
Like, obviously somebody on that team really liked Wizard of Oz.
Right.
I got to know that team because of the work that they presented. And they were
Daniel's poem about their ass is a really good example of incorporating things that you love about yourself. It's like there's that poem is just about how much Daniel loves Daniel's ass. It's amazing. And you feel like you get to know something about someone other than, oh, I'm sad, I've been oppressed, which is what slam has kind of turned into.
Right, like even my slut poem, the basis of that poem, like the impetus of that poem was some white boy was acting like he owned my black ass. That's oppression. But I wrote it from the point of, this is why you don't own my black ass, because you can't own God.
I'm talking about
Period.
my oppression, but from a place of joy. And there needs to be more space for that. And there needs to be space for that specifically for Black people.
Because that poem was underscored at Rust Belt like a motherfucker. Because niggas only wanted to hear a sad nigga poem.
Right. We're like, at what point do you like continue? Like, if you keep like the poetry scene, keep doing those sad nigga poems, niggas become sad niggas. The poetry scene, oh my God, where all these sad niggas come from? Like, what can we do to like stop depression? Like, stop encouraging it. It's like, yes, write about your pain, but also stop encouraging people to write about just their pain. Like the fact that like you see coaches all the time interact with black students and black team members of do that oppression piece, or I don't think that piece about your joy is going to score as well. Like how do you stop encouraging if the judges are choosing that? You talk to the judges. You know, we talk to the judges and are always like, people are going to be saying real shit. There's freedom of speech, but we don't say, you know,
people are also going to be talking about joy.
Right. Like, you know, we should be framing things. People are going to be talking a variety of topics from pain to joy to sadness to love.
To eating booty.
Right. Score all emotions equally. You are scoring on the content. Was the writing good in the performance? Was the performance?
Did they make? It's not the emotion. When we say we're looking for emotion, it doesn't mean we're looking for specific emotions. We're whatever emotion was present in that poem, did you feel it? And that's what we want you to score them on. We don't want you to score one emotion better than the other. We want you to score how well someone made you feel an emotion. If someone really made you laugh and made you feel joyful, score that poem as good as someone who made you cry. Like if you was crying from laughter and crying from sadness, those poems were just as good.
I would just want to be honest. I want to go back to the time where shitty poems that were funny could win a slam.
Could win a fucking slam.
Could win a fucking slam. Like,
and good poems that were funny led to a lot of Grand Slam champions.
Yes.
Because, you know, humor was like, if you could be funny on stage, you know, and be good, you won over all of the trauma poetry. But that flipped in the early 2010s and like has not really flipped back much.
I mean,
I'm trying.
It will flip back. I know it will, because people have more than one or two emotions. We are complex beings, and I am shocked that the poetry scene does not reflect that. But because we have niggas like y'all, and a lot of other people who are able to express the complexities of human emotion, yeah, it's not going to be so monotone, you know. Like the high school kids that I work with, they are talking about real serious shit, but framing it in such humorous ways that, like, I'm afraid to compete against these guys when they get older. And, you know, like, I got a 14 or 15-year-old female poet that, like, everything she comes up with is hella funny, but also hella serious, hella real, and hella deep. And there are so many other young people of all like genders and all colors of the spectrum that are going to flip it. You know, like us old niggas being sad and depressed and angry all the time, we're not going to be able to sustain when the young people take over, because they are articulating themselves.
I do want to say something though, because like there's something that I realized that, like, when you were talking about like that age of like people being funny, I like really being funny and successful in slam, I saw that with white people on the scene. White people were allowed to write about joy or reclamation or triumph, or write something funny or silly of absurd or kind of out there, and win. Like a prime example is 2018 Abe Becker Grand Slam champs. With like some very like, and Abe Becker is an amazing writer and performer, but like their writing style is particularly unique, absurd, and like this self-depreciating humor. Like for example, the canvassing poem that Abe has. That's
probably one of my top 3 poems of all time.
It's one of my top 3 poems of all time, but it would not have gotten clout from a Black artist because that's not the kind of thing that we want to see. It's like part of the white voyeurism of Black culture and Black art is that part of it is there is a reinforcement of the art that there is support for the art that reinforces the white idea of what it means to be Black and what it means to be Black in this country. White people think that suffering is what it means to be Black in this country, which is why they refuse to see Black people not suffer. You can't be Black and not suffer in this country. That's like how white people treat this country. And it even boils down to the art, where Black artists that talk about joy and not about oppression are demonized. Beyonce got Black on Twitter from people of all races and color for not putting out a political song. And I'm like, yes, a political song is important right now, but there are people making those songs. Who is making songs about Black joy? Who is making songs that make me feel good and make me fart and pop some pussy?
And that's kind of why I fuck. That's kind of why I fuck with the younger generation.
Oh yeah,
they are doing really well at holding on to joy and excitement and love.
Way out of spite.
And it's almost out of spite. It's like and you know what? I'm gonna give credit to our generation. Our generation has been so vocal about how our childhoods have been stolen for us that the next generation is refusing to let that happen.
Not only are they not letting that happen, but they're holding on to their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at the entire foundation of everything and being like, this is whack, and I'm just not gonna do it.
Okay. So you know what's funny though? Like, I have a unique perspective because I work with specifically the oldest members of Generation Z. So it's not just the unique thing about this is not that they're holding on to their childhood, is that they're holding on to their childhood while moving in and through adulthood. Like, yes, like this generation is like chilling and smoking hella weed and drinking hella alcohol and chilling with their niggas and like, you know, making TikToks. I'm not Gen Z. Millennials officially end after 1996. Don't play with me. But I'm in this unique position where I identify more with the childhood of millennials. I do not identify a lot with the culture of older millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Like
older millennials are damn near boomers. Y'all are boomers. Y'all are
bad at boomers.
Y'all are boomer posers a lot of the times. Y'all talk shit about the younger generation. Like we ain't working the same minimum wage job. Dude, you are 35 working at Target and you talking shit about millennials. Step your game up. Like we got neurosurgeons and shit. We got 12-year-olds going to college and you're at Target. Like,
yeah,
which is okay, but shit. Don't be talking shit. Don't be talking shit about at your minimum wage job when we have an entire generation that's trying to boss up right now. Like boss up. Like not just for themselves, for the entire world though. That's the cold part. They trying to save the entire world.
It's not just the fact that they're like these youth are like have mastered the ability to completely fuck around and then organize when necessary. Like the fact that the largest march in Oakland
was 15-year-olds
high school march. That was one of the largest protests in Oakland. But this is the generation that also like we had to tell not to eat Tide Pods, and the reason that TikTok exists. Like there's such power with being the reason that TikTok exists, and also the reason why this movement is as powerful as it is now. That is like we can enjoy ourselves and fight for our freedom. Gen Z is doing what millennials have wanted to do for the longest, but haven't had the balls or the resources to do. And by the time that we have, like, we're just over it. Like I think a lot of our millennials' hate for Gen Z comes from the fact that they're doing it better than us. They just are. Like, we failed at what they are trying to do. Gen Z is what's going to take apart fucking boomers. They're gonna rip those motherfuckers a new one. Oh my!
And you know what? We like all we have to do as millennials, like our job right now is to just try to tell the boomers that this is what's gonna happen. Look, Gen Z, they don't give a fuck. They eat Tide Pods and starting marches. Y'all, like, we're the reasonable ones right now.
And honestly, on them starting marches, they are the reason why this movement is so big. Not only in cities that typically have protests, but like my hometown doesn't typically have protests, and there have been protests consistently organized by 15-year-olds. I think the oldest organizer of the protest out there is 17.
And this is like what we really got to think about is like, how are we going to like why is it that we are stuck in this cycle of like demonizing the younger generation for the joy that we didn't have? Isn't that the point of the next generation, to be better than we were? Like, I mean, I'm not saying Gen Z is better than me, but they're happier than me. We both pretty equal, but they happier than me.
I thought that was the point of evolution.
Give a fuck that I just never had at her age. It is wild. Like all this shit that I was worried she would be insecure about and this and that. She don't give a fuck. Like, she really does not give two fucks. And if you think she give a fuck, she gonna beat your ass. Like, I love her.
Right. It's just like, wow. It's like the fact that I'm hearing, like, I'll walk into a school and I'll hear somebody say, like a 15-year-old say, niggas can't tell me what to do. That's something that people like femmes don't learn until like mid-20s, late 30s. If that, if ever. And like the general consensus of the younger generation is that men can't tell women what to do anymore. At least in the femmes. And if men tell you what to do, it's optional. Like the fact that like I'm seeing like situations of like youth supporting other youth to leave like abusive relationships. That's not something that happened when I was younger.
They wouldn't even call it abuse. That was just what was going on.
Right. Like the fact that I could teach a workshop and like I have a male student victim blame another student and I don't have to hop in and talk about it. Like the fact that the entire class roasted the fuck out of him. Like this, it wasn't like the fact that we don't have to have the teaching moments, that one, they already have the awareness, which, you know, good on us because someone had to teach them. But also like, we don't have to tell them to teach each other anymore. They're just like, they get it and they teach each other. We get information and we stingy with it. Like,
you ain't lying.
And it's like, there's a certain like, cause like, and there's a difference between, you know, not providing information because someone's not asking for it in good faith and not providing information to nobody at all. Like I'll have somebody who's like genuinely wanting to learn about like gender, and they'll be like, "Oh, why do I have to say my pronouns if I'm cis?" And not in an accusatory way, but like they're genuinely confused. I might not tell them, but I'll provide them with the article. I'm not gonna be like, "Bitch, Google it," because you asked me in good faith. Oh shit. Oh shit. Are Collin and Char still there?
I think their video or like laptop is momentarily down.
Damn, they froze. Oh, they dropped. But yeah, I think it's.
I mean, I agree with everything you were saying. While you were talking, it reminded me of another one of my students at the same school. Hey, you're back. What's up, folks?
Yo, I don't know what happened. Reggie was talking. I just blame white supremacy. As soon as niggas get on their soapbox and start speaking the truth, they don't want niggas to hear it.
It's the truth they don't want you to hear.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. COINTELPRO is
Not
still
even
a
the
thing.
niggas in the Zoom.
But yeah, I was saying though that one of my other students that I work with at that same high school just started a company called the Lyro Foundation, LIRO. Love is Raging Out. It's a young man named Jaheem.
Jaheem!
Yes.
Yo, that nigga is a fire ass poet.
Oh, I know this. Oh man. And
when's he gonna start coming to these adult slams regularly?
See, he is a like international traveler and like as part of like 11 billion different organizations. I gotta see when he's free because he won't
because like
grown folks I know.
He need to start getting this work early so that when he's like 20, 19, like I got into the poetry scene when I was 19. Yeah, 19. When he gets to 19, he should be winning slams, not starting to perform at slams. That dude has a lot of raw talent that if he was performing regularly, oh my gosh. He could be selling books at 19.
Oh yeah, and you haven't heard most of Imani's poems because man. But yeah, like it is inspiring to have conversations with and work with young people who understand like at such an earlier age than most of us can fathom. I guess iWhips now has
a 21 and up rule.
Yeah, 21 and up.
I have so many feelings about that. On one hand, I don't think I went to be 21 and up. On the other hand, as somebody who has tried to find a venue for our show, I feel you. None
of the venues. I'm assuming that is this for Dallas? Because none of the venues in San Diego were 21 and up.
Then I don't know. It could also be just for like liability,
insurance.
Because I know like as people who like want to do an intergeneration.
Are you frozen again? Yeah.
Hello. Someone said, what are we talking about?
The Individual World Poetry Slam.
But we're specifically talking about how we can
center joy and specifically Black joy in poetry spaces. So yeah, it looks like Collin and Chardonay disappeared again.
Okay. Dang, they must live close to the feds or something. They live in Oakland. They got their Wi-Fi tapped.
Yeah. Fake. But yeah, I think it's for iWhips. I know for us, like part of like we want to plan an intergenerational poetry slam, and one of the concerns and things that we have to figure out how to deal with is like when you have people of different ages in the room, there's a safety concern. Of like, you know, you don't know who everybody is. And do we want to put our youth in that space? And then also insurance. I know that like when you have a youth focused event that you need insurance for, it can be more expensive because kids are expensive, which is why I don't have any. So like I don't want to fault. I don't want to say anything about iWhips because I don't know why they did it. But I do think it's interesting that a lot of the high profile slam events are for adults. And there's really like in the United States, really only Brave New Voices to go to. And there's no intergenerational space. Oh, Louder Than a Bomb. That's right. Louder Than a Bomb, Brave New Voices, but like there's really like there's very few intergenerational spaces for like adults and youth to interact. And I think that's important because there's a joy that today's youth have and are able to capture and are able to speak about that we quite frankly can't. And if we're not in conversation with them, we're going to be stuck sad as hell, like literally just sitting here stuck and sad as hell because we weren't talking to the people who knew how to have fun.
Yeah,
like shit, like the fact that like I thought Zoom meetings with my youth were going to be boring because Zoom meetings with adults are boring.
For sure.
They are not. Like the first Zoom meeting I had, one of my youth didn't have their picture on, but kept changing their profile picture in the middle of the Zoom, like different things. And then when they did finally show their face, they kept changing their virtual background. And it's like, it wasn't disruptive, but also like it made, like we talked about it, like, you know, we would joke about it, but like, and it wasn't disruptive. So like, nothing happened, but like I was really sitting up there like, wow, like y'all really figured out how to make a Zoom fun.
Because like all my other Zooms could have been a meeting, could have been an email.
Not even all my other Zooms could have been an email, but like even if they weren't, like it's like it feels disconnected in this youth, like because they are, especially now, we really need to be working with youth now. In this coronavirus digital age, because the youth like 18 and under almost solely connect digitally since before coronavirus.
Right.
So they have this unique ability to make not only you feel connected to them, but to connect with others and like spread that knowledge on in the virtual realm. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be talking to them. I can't say this enough. Gen Z has done it better. Are you telling me joy and civil rights? Gen Z is doing it better right now.
But speaking of being able to express your joy, we do have a show tonight. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm running the workshop.
Talk about that.
We actually have a really lit ass workshop tonight. Wow, it does not go with this theme of Black joy solely because I did it like forever ago. Like I wrote it forever ago. And it's also a poem I haven't written. But it's a great prompt. It's going to be a really fun topic, whether or not you talk about your trauma. Yeah, come hang out with us at 6:00. The Zoom is on Instagram.
Yes, Instagram.
Yeah.
If you check us out on Instagram, at Rich Oak Alchemy, you can get more information about that workshop. You can also donate to the workshop by going to patreon.com/richoakevents and pledging $30 a month. All of that money goes to our workshop facilitators, making sure we pay people for being the educators in our community. If you believe that artists should get paid and teachers should get paid, then you definitely believe teaching artists should get paid, and you should help us do that. So like, thank you, like, once again for Nakia and our other sponsors of our workshop for generously donating to make sure that we pay our artists and our teachers and our community leaders what they're worth. I think that's like something we don't talk about with our Patreon, is that a lot of our Patreon is dedicated to making sure that we can pay people, artists, community organizers, leaders more than what we already are. So like, yeah, so like a lot of that money goes, doesn't just sit there and like buy supplies, like it actually like goes to people that are doing the work, which I think is really important, because as much as like we're willing to do all of this stuff for free and to volunteer our time, like as much as I'm willing to do it, there should be resources where people don't have to volunteer to do this work, where people can get paid to do this work that we would pay people for. If they weren't, like, honestly, like if Char wasn't running the workshop and it was some random person, I would have to pay them to run the workshop. So I should pay Char. So like, definitely, I think definitely support the tiers that are supporting people, especially, you know, supporting our DJ, supporting our features, supporting the Allen Bluford Center, supporting our workshops. You know, that's really like, that really does make a big impact on the work that we can do in the community. We can pay people to do bigger and better things. So yeah, hop on to our writing workshop tonight at 6 p.m. PST for all y'all East Coast niggas. That's 9 p.m. EST. For all y'all other time zones, there is an app on your phone that can tell you. I just know what the East Coast and the West Coast of the United States look like. I dropped out of college, so I couldn't tell you where the rest of the world is standing right now. But
the workshop is at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, and I think there's a Mountain Standard Time that would be at 7.
Look, I love it.
I love it. Clock PST.
Oh, the workshop is at
9:15 PST.
No, not 9:15.
It's at 7. It's at 7.
No.
7:15.
Damn, we just told everybody the wrong fucking time for the workshop. For everybody. The workshop is at 7:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:15 Central Time, and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's just take that collective L. Timing is illusion. A whole illusion right now. I thought it was.
And 8:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. They probably watching somewhere in the mountains too, because there ain't nothing better to do.
Ain't shit. We bored in the house, and we in the house bored.
Right. But following our workshop at 8:15, we will be having an open mic via Instagram Live. Who's hosting that open mic?
I thought it's you.
Ooh, child. Yeah, I guess I will be hosting that. It's not like I'm not down. It is me. I signed up for it. I'm on the list to host it. That's my bad. Again, I thought it was Sunday. So like everything about today is throwing me off. But yeah, join us on Instagram Live. We're gonna have a great open mic. Join us on patreon.com. We have a great community. And also, you know, you can always send one-time donations to our Cash App, our Venmo. Our Cash App is Rich Oak Events. Our Venmo is Rich Oak Slam. But you should definitely, you know, support us. And also show up to our open mic tonight. Show up, show support for the local poets that are going to be spitting on that open mic. Yeah, any final words before we get on out of here?
Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Love, peace, and chicken grease. Love it.
All right, Cornelius. I guess my final thoughts are manifest joy in whatever you do.
Mhm.
Find ways to find joy in your work. Find what can bring you joy in the middle of a shelter in place, quarantining because of a pandemic. Find joy in the little things, because it like this world we live in, this country of America, is not designed for us to survive, to love ourselves, to love each other, and to thrive in it. So, like, manifest joy the way that, white folks in the 1800s tried to manifest destiny.
Mm.
Ruthlessly
Yeah.
find your joy. But that's my last thought.
And my final thoughts are protect your peace, protect your peace, protect your peace. And you know what I'm about to say, by any means necessary. I think that is like, we talk so much about Black rage, we have not talked about Black peace. And I'm not talking about like non-violence. I think there's a difference. Peace is when you're able to sit down in your own home and eat a bowl of cereal and not think about being Black. Protect that. That, like, Black joy is sometimes hard to come by. You can make Black peace anywhere, even if somebody's disrupting it. You can do something to protect your peace, whether it's walking away, whether it's slapping the shit out of them, whatever you think is going to protect your peace. Because at the end of the day, this system is sent to keep you in a total state of chaos, and to feel like nothing is in your control or for you. So when you find something that's in your control, that's for you, protect it. Protect it at all costs. If you can't have joy, at least have some peace.
Period. And my final thoughts are, first of all, come to the workshop. It's about to be great.
It's about to be Litterman Toast Crunch.
Did you say what?
Litterman Toast Crunch.
I speak from experience. Char's workshops are probably going to produce some of my best poems when I finish the poems I started in their workshops. So I definitely implore you all to enjoy them like I have every time I go.
Thank you. That means a lot. Yay. You heard it here. Come to my workshop at 7:15. Also, take some time to just write, like, especially as poets, we focus so much on just like writing a good poem, something for consumption. Um, and I feel like just taking a moment to write something just for you, not to share, uh, it's really important. It's really special. It gives you something to look at when you have those really heavy days, because this world does not want to see Black people do well. Um, and you can be your best motivator instead of your biggest critic.